pyramid in reverse. Pyramid within a pyramid not only reinforced the structure, the Egyptians believed it doubled the king's chances for resurrection.
With this sequence of 3 large and high rooms, King Snofru finally had achieved a burial place, an eternal residence he could be happy and content with. These rooms are constructed of large limestone blocks. The roof in layers of limestone blocks, everyone protruding about 15 centimeters. With this ingenious construction, there are about more than 2 million tons of stone on this roof. And there's no crack and no earthquake. The roof represents also the sky resting over the wooden side of the
most important discoveries that he finally answered 2 age-old questions. Who actually built the pyramids, and how long did it take?
When we started excavation, we found the basic inside the world, we found the names who constructed the pyramid. For example, the Egyptian constructed the name of the king, King Snofru, and dates. With these dates, we could realize that after 2 years, already 6 layers of the pyramid had been constructed. 2 years later, about 15 meters of the pyramid had been completed. And from another point to learn that it took about 70 years to construct the pyramid.
To build his pyramids, Snefru would quarry more stone and harness more manpower than any other pharaoh during the Old Period. But his successor would concentrate his energy on one, the greatest resurrection machine of them all. Rising from the Giza Plateau is the ultimate expression of the quest for eternity. Built for Snefru's successors, Khufu, Khafra, and Menkaura, they are 30 The superhuman scale of the Great Pyramid alone earned Khufu the reputation of a cruel tyrant. It contained enough stone to build a wall 3 feet high around the whole of France, according to the builder who marveled at it in 1798. Time has been kinder to the pyramid of King Khafra. Only 2 feet smaller than the Great Pyramid, it's better preserved. The original limestone facing still decorates the summit. It also retains the remnants of several structures that were an integral part of the resurrection. the base of the pyramid was a mortuary temple supplied with daily offerings of food and drink in the belief that even a dead king needed sustenance. From there, a covered causeway almost a third of a mile long led to a valley temple, a monumental portal linking the desert plateau to the life-giving and purified waters of the Nile. Added something new to the traditional pyramid complex. The Sphinx, one of Egypt's most haunting images. A sprawling lion with the head of a man, it reaches across time to proclaim the king, master. On a journey to Egypt in 450 BC, the Greek historian Herodotus was told the pyramids were built by slaves. But all evidence of their existence seemed to vanish without trace until American archaeologist Mark Lehner began mapping the Giza Plateau. Since then, he's uncovered proof that far from a labor camp, Giza was once a thriving community of workers the size of a small city, dedicated to serving the king. South of the pyramids, a stone wall separates the tombs and temples of Giza from 40 acres of empty desert. It was here that Lehner and his team began their excavations.
This large stone wall is called the Wall of the Throne in Arabic, and it's played a major part in our thinking about where we excavated. Our site is just to the south. Anywhere else in the world, and this would be a national treasure, actually it's been somewhat ignored here at Giza because of the dwarf French pyramid of the Sphinx. It's much bigger than you think. It actually, our trenches up against the wall shows that it is some 10 meters tall. And the gateway behind it there is about 21 feet tall. This is one of the largest gateways in the world.
In 1991, they dug a trench, exposing thousands of pieces of pottery from the time of the pyramids. The pottery came from two rooms he believes were ancient bakeries. Several pots contained what looked like bread. To find out, he turned it over to archaeobotanists like Mary Ann Merrill. In a flotation tank, the dirt falls to the bottom. What's left is vegetation. Later analysis confirmed that the ritual was possibly used to make the bread. The bakeries were attached to the back of a much larger mud-brick building, enclosed by a 5-foot thick wall. Inside were curious low benches and troughs, beautifully paved with desert clay. Then and his team were battling until it was the possible of the dirt on the floor.
Scraping that back, sometimes with Swiss Army knives, we found these fibrous deposits, very fragile, that turned out to be the gills, fins, cranial parts, vertebrae, and the fish. Looking at some of the dirt filling the troughs with our microscope, there was a film of fish bones scattered throughout. So we seem to have inside the enclosure much of the building, facilities possibly for fish.
It soon became evident that Lehner and his team had stumbled upon the kitchen and fed the pyramid builders. A short distance away, an ancient cemetery bears witness to the legions of craftsmen and laborers who stayed on to serve the pyramids. Built of stone left over from the pyramids, some are miniature mastabas with tiny courtyards and false doors bearing inscriptions of the old age. Others are simple graves topped with domes, crude reflection of a pyramid, but all are resurrection tombs. Zahi Hawass, director of the Giza Pyramid, has been excavating the ancient cemetery. interesting tombs, we can learn a little bit more about the lives of these once unknown people.
This man, his name is Nefertiti. He married two wives, and in his very day, they lived. He had something like but what? His wife, his main wife, had a title and underneath the fourth door, we had a very interesting never occurred before. This man is wine and this man is making beer. Even in the offering table, they're putting them on 4 times, 5 times, 3 I really believe this man once a little child vicar located to the east of the tombs of the Welcome.
So far, some 600 tombs have been discovered. It now appears that the Wall of the Crows was the barrier that separated the hallowed ground of the pyramids from the mundane world of those who built them. It's estimated 20,000 Egyptians were drafted to erect just one pyramid at Giza. In the years to come, nothing quite like them would ever be seen again. Time would not be so kind to Egypt's next dynasty of kings. These ruined tombs are called the Forgotten Pyramids. Located not far from south of Giza at a site called Abu Sir, they are smaller than their colossal predecessors and in poor condition. Their limestone casings stripped in Roman times. In 1893, local farmers digging among some pyramids stumbled upon over 300 fragments of papyrus. Because they were difficult to read, the fragments were dispersed and forgotten. Then, in 1976, one caught the attention of archaeologist Miroslav Werner, director of the Czech mission exploring Abu Sir. It mentioned the mortuary temple of a little-known king named Raneferef, whose tomb had never been found. Werner suspected it lay under tons of sand near an unfinished pyramid. Because the pyramid was incomplete, early archaeologists assumed it had never been used. But they were wrong. At its base, Werner found a once fully operational mortuary temple, complete with the largest cache of 5th dynasty sculpture in existence, including a rare painted limestone statue of the king, his head shielded by his protector, the falcon god Horus.
Constructed in several we are in the core of the pyramid where we succeeded in discovering the entrance to the funerary apartment of Franklin. We can expect, on the basis of what we have already found here in this area, remains of the burial equipment of the king, possibly also fragments of his red granite sarcophagus. Who knows? Maybe he remains.
If Raneferef's mummy, this once forgotten king will reign as the only old kingdom pharaoh to survive intact in his tomb. Raneferef probably died in the 20s before his death. But the practical business of resurrection took place in the mortuary. Its importance was confirmed by Werner's next and most significant discovery, an archive of rare documents describing the activities of the king's cult.
The fire found in this place have learned that the mortuary temple of Valentine was a Israeli religious center for at least 300 years after the king's death. About 300 priests combined with they engaged the cult of the king by day and by night. By day they brought the By night, some priests watched from the temple terrace the stars to catch the records.
The records from upper sea reveal a bureaucracy obsessed with detail. Meticulous inventories were kept of furnishings and cult objects, along with stockpiles and deliveries of food, and revenues collected from the king's estates. Duty rosters of priests charged with performing daily rituals. Assignments included reviving the king's spirit, clothing his statue, and laying out sumptuous meals on the altar. What the king didn't eat, the priests did. According to one document, 130 bulls were slaughtered during one 10-day festival. When Emperor Scott flourished for 200 years before it was finally abandoned, his tomb for life. Centuries later, the great resurrection machines would vanish from the Egyptian landscape, only to reappear in a very different form. In 1500 BC, the pharaoh Thutmose I instructed his architect named Enemi to build him a tomb. On the west bank of the Nile, opposite Thebes, Egypt's most important religious center, he found the perfect spot. An isolated canyon dominated by a huge pyramid-shaped mountain called Here, deep in the rock, Enemi carved out his tomb. Certain the body of his pharaoh would be secure, he left a touching inscription on the walls of his own tomb a few miles away. It reads, "I built the tomb of my majesty. No one seeing, no one hearing." Nearly 30 pharaohs would eventually be buried in what is now known as the Valley of the Kings. Immortality was assured by a stunning array of texts decorating the walls. While the Egyptians went underground, the pyramid would make a dramatic reappearance in another ancient but little-known kingdom. Hidden away in Nubia, in modern-day Sudan, is one of history's best-kept secrets. These pyramids are the relics of a once powerful civilization known as the Kingdom of Kush. The story of why they were built begins around 1400 BC. For centuries, Egypt had coveted the wealth of Nubia. The Kushites controlled vast resources of gold and other minerals. They also dominated the principal trade routes to the heart of Africa. In the reign of Thutmose III, Egypt finally conquered Nubia, and the Kingdom of Kush became part of Egypt. 700 years later, the Kushite rulers in turn laid claim to Egypt's throne. The acclaim centered around a flat-topped mountain in Nubia called Jebel Barkal. The mountain fascinated the Egyptians. On its western flank, the shape of a strange pinnacle led them to believe it was sacred. American archaeologist Tim Kendall of the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, Massachusetts, has spent years unraveling the secrets of Jebel Barkal.
When the Egyptians came here, they saw in this strange rock formation the image of a very familiar symbol to them, a rearing cobra, which was called a uraeus, symbol of kingship, which the kings wore on their crown. The cobra form seems to be wearing the white crown of the south, which symbolized kingship over the south.